the equipotential surfaces will be the concentric spheres. So one sphere is one surface, and on that particular sphere, because that every point on that particular sphere is at same distance from the charge which is at the center. So that's why the potential at every point will be what? Potential is given by Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R. So if R is constant or R is same for all the points on one given sphere, so that's why their potential will also be same at all the points. So that's what is equipotential surface. Now we have some properties of these equipotential surfaces which we have to see. So what are those properties? And again, sometimes there will be some very tricky questions based on these properties. Properties of equipotential surfaces. So the first one, we know that VB minus VA is actually equals to potential difference, and that is given by work done in moving a charge from A to B and per unit charge, if that the charge which we are moving is a unit positive charge. We know this. Now if it is an equipotential surface, for equipotential surface, VA should be equals to VB, must be equal to VB. That means what? That means delta V is equals to 0. That means what? Charge cannot be 0. It is the work done which is 0. Right? So what do we conclude? No work is done when we are moving a charge from one point to another on an equipotential surface. So no work is done in moving a charge on an equipotential surface. Right? So that is our first property. Now the electric field is always perpendicular to the element dl of the equipotential surface. What does that mean? So we know that this work done in moving from A to B is equals to the negative line integral of E dot dl, right? From say A to B. And if A and B lies on the surface which is equipotential surface, then it must be 0. That is our first property. What does it mean? It means that this dot product, that is E dl cos theta, that is equals to 0. That means cos theta is equals to 0. That means theta is equals to pi by 2 or 90 degree. That means E is perpendicular to dl. So that simply means electric field is perpendicular to the surface. Right? Or angle between E and dl is perpendicular, 90 degree. Okay, so that was our second property, that is electric field. Is perpendicular to dl. Moving to the next property, We have seen till, that E is equals to minus dV by dr. Okay, or this also means that dr is equals to minus dV by E. So the first part we have already seen, we have just rewritten it in this form. So that means we can get negative, this is called the potential gradient. This part, this thing, dV by dr, the term for that is potential gradient. Gradient represents slope or change. So dV by dr is called potential gradient, and negative potential gradient is nothing but electric field. Okay, and dr, as we have seen, we can rewrite it as dr is equals to minus dV by E. Now, if it is on equipotential surfaces, what will happen to dV? dV will be 0 because equipotential, all potentials has to be same, so change in potential is 0, right? So, or we can say that dV is 0 or constant. So in that case, from this, what can we conclude? That this dr is inversely proportional to electric field. Now this is something which from which we can derive other results as well. So we got dr is inversely proportional to the strength of electric field. That means if E is strong, if the electric field is strong, dr will be small. That means the separation of equipotential surfaces will be smaller, right? So if there are two equipotential surfaces, say this is S1 and this is S2, two surfaces, and suppose this is another field S3. So here, as we can see, the dr is small, and here, as you can see, dr is big. So the electric field will be stronger in this region, and it will be weak in this region. So E2 will be less than E1. Right? Simply means if R is small, if you are near the point, the equipotential, near the charge, the equipotential surfaces will be crowded, which we have already seen in the diagram here. In this particular diagram, here you can see that these surfaces which are near to the charge, they are actually, so here it will be crowded. The surfaces will be crowded, but as you go outwards, it won't be crowded. And we know that as you move away from the point charge, electric field will also decrease. Okay, then there is this next property which says two equipotential surfaces cannot intersect. So that is the next property or characteristics of equipotential surfaces. Two equipotential surfaces, if they intersect, then at the point of intersection, there will be two values of electric potential, right? So what does that mean? Suppose if there are two equipotential surfaces, suppose this is S1 and this is S2. That means it will have some potential V1 and it will have some potential V2. At all points, it will have the same potential V1, and at all points in S2, it will have same potential V2. Now we are saying that they are intersecting. So if two surfaces are intersecting such that this has V1 and this has V2, that means what will happen to this point of intersection of line, sorry, the line of intersection, because these are two surfaces. So when two surfaces intersect, they intersect at a line. So when they are intersecting at this particular line, on that line belongs to both surface S1 as well as surface S2. That means you will have on that point, you will have two values of potentials. But what are equipotential surfaces? They are those surfaces where the value of potential is only 1. So that means two equipotential surfaces cannot or will never intersect. Okay, so that is about the equipotential surfaces and their properties. Okay, next we have already seen before potential, we have actually seen that what is electropotential or electrostatic potential energy, that is K Q1 Q2 divided by R, or 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R. And if there is a system of charge, potential energy, and if there is a system of charge like this, then there will be, suppose this is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Then for this entire system, the charges will be there, and the individual charge combinations you will have to take and compute their potential energies and then add them. So this will be equals to, suppose if the, or we'll write it directly here, that this, in this case, U will be equals to sigma, that is sum of, and or instead of that I'll write U is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R12, that is distance between 1 and 2, plus Q1 Q3 divided by R13, plus Q1 Q4 divided by R14, plus Q2 Q4, sorry, Q2 Q3 R24, plus Q2 Q4 divided by R24. So 1 2 1 3 1 4 2 3 2 4, and what else, 3 1 is already there, 3 2 is already there, and 3 4 is not there. So Q3 Q4 divided by R34. So that is the total. These are the total combinations for which you have to find. That is, for example, say here there will be potential energy between or due to these two combinations, Q1 and Q3. So that is what we have here, right? And this distance is suppose R13. So that is what we have taken here. And in this case, suppose there are 4 charges. So out of 4, you have to take combination of 2 out of 4. So that will be what? 4 into 3 divided by 2, that is 6. So these are 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 such combinations. You write or you can compute or calculate for all such combinations and add them. That will be the total potential energy, right? And same thing can be written in form, in form of a formula like this. So as you can see here, Q1, Q2, I and j, it will keep on varying. And for one value of I, there will be different values of j. So you keep on doing that, and that will be the total energy. There is half there outside. in this formula you can see there is half there. So what exactly is that half? So in this, if you see, I have taken R12 but not R21 because that doesn't make any sense. Both will be same. So what this formula takes is that you take all such combinations. That is, 4C2 will give you only combinations. This actually means P42. So if you do P42, you will get 4 factorial by 2 factorial into just 4 factorial by 2 factorial. That is actually 12 divided by 2, or sorry, 24 divided by 2, and that is equals to 12. But we know that it is only 6. So that's why this factor of 1 by 2 here, right? That is to remove the duplicate entries. So anyways, I don't suggest you remembering this formula. This is just in case if you see somewhere, you should know what is this. Otherwise, we'll just use this. This is better way of doing. That is, find all the combinations, add them. Find all the combinations, calculate their individual energies, and add them. So that is the electrostatic potential energy of a system of charges. Okay, so now based on this, we will have some questions to solve. We'll solve some questions now. So the charge Q is given, that is equals to 10 coulomb, that is passed through a battery, and the plates of the battery are maintained at potential of 12 volts. I mean, this is the potential. How much work is done by the battery? Okay, so work done. This, I mean, the potential is equals to work done divided by Q. So that means what is work done? Work done is Q into V. So we just have to do that. That is 120 joules. Okay, moving to next question. I think this was easy, and let's move to next question. Okay, so now here charges are given, that is 2.0 into 10 to the power minus 6, or you can say 2 microcoulomb, and another is 1 microcoulomb are placed at corners A and B, of a square whose side is 5 centimeters. So this is the figure for this question. So the side of this square is 5 centimeter, and the charges at A and what was there? A and B is 2 microcoulombs and 1 microcoulomb. Okay, so what do we have next? How much work will be done against the electric field in moving a charge of 1 microcoulomb from C to D. Now this is little not, I won't say tricky, but little uh, conceptual question where you have where more than one problem you have to solve. So you have to find the work done against the electric field in moving a charge of 1 microcoulomb from C to D. So the charge is moving from C to D. There is a charge of 1 microcoulomb here, which you have to move from here to here. And what will be the work done? And what do we have? We have these two charges. So now due to these two charges, there will be an electric field here. So we have to first find that electric field, right? And due to that electric field there will be a potential. So we have to find that potential there. And the work done will be equals to the potential into the work done is Q into V. So first we have to find the potential there. Okay, and these formulas which we have derived till now in this chapter, right? Almost 3/4 of this chapter is over, and the formulas which we know till now is this: force is equals to KQ by R square, E is equals to KQ, force is Q1, Q2, E is KQ by R square, and V, that is potential, is KQ by R, and potential energy, that is U, is KQ1, Q2 divided by R. Okay, so here what do we have? This is 5, this is 5. So obviously this side will be 5 root 2 by Pythagoras theorem. So now we have to find potential at C. So potential at C will be equals to potential at C due to A plus potential at C due to B. Now what is potential? KQ divided by, so K is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. I'll take it outside. Inside we'll have this Q1 divided by R1. R1 is what? 5 root 2, or say first write just R1. So Q1 divided by R1 is nothing but here it is AC, plus Q2 divided by R2 is nothing but distance BC. Okay, now substitute the values. So this is 9 into 10 to the power 9. Q1, that is 2 microcoulomb. So even microcoulomb I'll take outside, that is minus 6. So inside you'll have 2 divided by AC, that is 5 root 2, plus Q2. Q2 is 1 divided by 5. And this is in centimeters. So here into 10 to the power minus 2. That is in meters. Okay, so now even 5 can be taken outside. So this is 9 into 10 to the power 9 plus 11, 10 to the power 5, right? Divided by 5 into, inside you have 2 by root 2 is root 2 plus 1. Okay, so that is the electric potential at C. The work done is moving from C to D. So work done will be actually equals to Q into delta V. So we also have to find similarly what will be the potential at D. So what will be potential at D? That potential at D will be due to A plus potential at D due to B. And that will be again 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, that is K, Q1 by AD plus Q2 by BD. Now that is 9 into 10 to the power, I mean, it will be same 10 to the power 5 I'll take, and inside Q1 is 2 divided by AD is 5 plus Q2 is 1 divided by BD is 5 root 2. So if you see, this is same, it's not different, right? So this is also 9 into 10 to the power 5 by 5 into root 2 plus 1. So what do we observe here? That these are the potentials. Sorry, not this. If I take 5 outside, here it will be 2 plus 1 by root 2. That is 2 root 2 plus 1. So this is 9 into 10 to the power 5 divided by 5 into 2 root 2 plus 1 divided by root 2. So this is VD, this is VC, and obviously delta V will be VD minus VC, final minus initial. So in that we have this 9 into 10 to the power 5 divided by 5 common. Inside we have, I can write it directly, 2 by 1 root 2 minus root 2 minus 1. This is delta V. And what do we have to find? The work done in moving a charge, which is equals to the charge. The test charge is actually equals to 1 microcoulomb. So now the work done will be equals to Q delta V, which is equals to 9 into 10 to the power 5 into 10 to the power minus 6, that is 1 microcoulomb, into 1 plus 1 by root 2 minus root 2. So this will be the total number of joules. So we just have to calculate this, and that will be our work done. So the point which we have to note here in this problem is, or are like this. We had two charges given, and due to these two charges, that is these two charges, there will be some potential here. That potential is VC. Due to these two charges, there will be some potential here. That potential is VD. A charge is moving from C to D. So a charge will, if it is moving from C to D, there will be a potential difference between C and D. So you find that potential difference, that is actually VD minus VC, final minus initial. Delta is always final minus initial. So you find that delta V and the work done will be equals to Q delta V. So that's how we solve this or such problems. Okay, so